Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth session of Create Unity, Help Your Community. My name's Amber and I am one of the co-leaders in this 5-week program geared to help you get into the community and volunteer. I'm so thrilled you've made it to the fourth session today, which is titled, Let's Talk About It. In this 25-minute session, I will be going over communication skills that will help you confidently complete an interview. However, before jumping in, I first want to recap what you've already learned in the previous sessions with my co-leaders. At this point, you've located where you want to apply with Stephanie in the first session. In the second session, you thought about the transportation and how you will get to the volunteer site with Nicole. In the third session, you learned how to fill out your application with Lady, and if you haven't already submitted it or handed it in online, now would be the time to do so. So the next step in the volunteer process after submitting your application will be getting scheduled for an interview. Communication skills in an interview are important because this is what gives the head of the program an idea of who you are and why you should be part of their team. Specifically, we'll be working on verbal and nonverbal communication skills. Understanding these skills and applying them can help give a good impression and potentially land you an opportunity at a volunteer program. The purpose of today's session is to learn those necessary communication skills so you feel comfortable and confident going on your interview. Today's session will first go over a PowerPoint discussing what verbal and nonverbal communication skills are. Next, we will do a 15-minute activity that focuses on verbal and nonverbal communication skills in an interview setting. After the activity, we will discuss how we can apply what we've learned in the activity to other aspects of our lives. I will wrap up the session by explaining what to expect for next week, which will be your last session. So to get started with our PowerPoint, I want to go over what verbal and nonverbal communication is. First, we will begin with verbal communication. Verbal communication is how we share information with other individuals by speaking. This includes what we say, how we say it, when to say it, and what we should not say. So let's start with the first bullet point, what we say. It's important to think before we speak, meaning it's important to be thoughtful about what we are going to say before just blurting it out. For example, if you are in an interview and an interviewer asks you a challenging question, it's okay to take a minute to think about what you're going to say. Just spitting out whatever comes to mind first can reflect poorly upon you. So our second bullet point, how we say things. So our tone of voice can make all the difference with how things come across. It's important to recognize not just what we're saying, but how we're saying it as well. Multiple people can say the same sentence, but their tone of voice can each convey a different message. This can include things like the intensity or how loud we're speaking, or how quickly we're speaking. For example, if you're talking in an interview in a very slow and low tone of voice, this can be seen as having a lack of energy or even interest in the interview. However, if you're talking really loud and really fast, this can make it difficult for the interviewer to understand what you're saying. However, if you talk at a moderate pace and at a moderate tone, this can be seen as having confidence, and the interviewer can perceive a lot easier what you're trying to say. So our third bullet point, when to say it. When we are having a conversation with someone, we want to let the other person finish speaking before we jump in. Talking over someone because you want to share something or get your point across can be seen as rude and cause the other person to want to discontinue the conversation. For example, if you're in an interview and the interviewer is sharing something about themselves and you are excited to share something that connects with them, allow them to finish their story first because they're just as excited to share something about themselves as you are. So the last bullet point, what we choose not to say. So what we don't share with someone in a conversation can be just as important as what we choose to share with them. Realizing what should and shouldn't be brought up in a conversation can be really important. What we don't want to bring up is something that we know can make someone feel personally uncomfortable. For example, if you find yourself in a situation where you are having a conversation with someone and you have to think to yourself if the comment is appropriate, you are generally better off not saying it at all. So we finished up with verbal communication skills. Now we're going to move on to nonverbal communication skills. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is how we communicate with someone without the use of spoken language. This can be expressed through eye contact, gestures, facial expression, posture, the way we dress, and what we choose to do or not to do. So, eye contact. Making eye contact with someone while they are speaking is important so they know that you're paying attention. If you are in an interview, for example, and you are looking down or away from someone while they are speaking, they may think that you're not interested in what they're saying. So our second bullet point, gestures. Gestures are usually a movement of part of the body. So it may include things like how we greet someone when we meet them for the first time. So for example, when we first meet someone, we generally want to greet them with a handshake. This gesture can show that you are friendly and it gives an opportunity to make a connection with someone. So our third bullet point is facial expressions. Facial expressions are important because this indicates an individual's emotions. We can read a lot about what someone is thinking simply through their face. So it's important to have an awareness of this. For example, when you first meet someone, you generally want to smile because this indicates that you're happy to meet them. So posture is our fourth bullet point. Posture can also indicate what you are feeling and even thinking. If your body is closed when you're having a conversation with someone, such that your arms are folded, you're slouched, and you have your head down, this can indicate that you don't want to have a conversation with someone. However, if you sit up straight, shoulders back, and head up, this can indicate confidence and that you are open to a conversation. So our fifth bullet point is the way we dress. The way we dress can also send a nonverbal message. If you are preparing for an interview, choosing what to wear can send a message to the interviewer of how serious you are about the position. Dressing in informal clothing such as sweats, jeans, and a t-shirt can send a message that you're not as serious about the position. However, dressing in business casual indicates that you are serious about the opportunity. So our last bullet point on this slide is what we choose to do or not to do. This can include the time we choose to arrive for scheduled events, such as an interview. Arriving late to an interview can indicate you're not interested in the position and are even irresponsible. This is why we want to arrive early so we can show we are responsible and grateful for the opportunity. So now that we have just reviewed what verbal and nonverbal communication is, we are going to do an activity to apply these skills in an interview setting. I will pose 11 questions regarding interview skills. The first section will consist of 6 nonverbal communication skill questions. The answers will be multiple choice and true or false. The second section will consist of 5 open-ended questions involving typical questions you may see in an interview. This section is going to test your verbal communication skills. For both sections, you will be given 10 seconds to pick the best answer after the question is read. There will be a countdown timer in the upper left-hand corner so you can see how much time is left. After 10 seconds, I will go over the best answer and explain why. If you need more time to answer this question, please feel free to pause the video and take as much time as you need. So let's jump into the activity. The first section will be nonverbal communication skills in an interview setting. So question 1, what did you wear to the interview for the volunteer program? A, jeans and a t-shirt, B, sweats, or C, business casual? So the best answer to this question is C, business casual. Studies have shown that people make first impressions of you the first 7 seconds that they see you, so it's important to look well put together so the interviewer knows you are serious about the opportunity. A pair of dress pants or even khakis would work depending on the setting in which you are volunteering at. For a top, a nice button-down shirt or dressy top with a blazer would work great. There's no need to dress in a suit, but you shouldn't be dressing in jeans, a t-shirt, or sweats either. The way we dress can non-verbally communicate how serious we are about the interview, so we want to send a good message right from the beginning. Question 2. What time should you arrive for the interview? A, 10 to 15 minutes before the scheduled interview time. B, a couple of minutes before the scheduled interview time. Or C, at the exact time the interview is scheduled. So the best answer to this question is A, 10 to 15 minutes before the scheduled interview time. Arriving this early communicates to the interviewer that you are reliable, responsible, and committed to the position. Showing up early gives you time to acclimate yourself to the environment and use the restroom if needed. Showing up exactly on time doesn't give you the opportunity to orient yourself and use the restroom once you get there. So now you would be running into the time that the interview is supposed to begin. Running late can show that you are irresponsible and cause you and the interviewer to get off on the wrong foot. Question 3. How should you greet the interviewer? A. Smile and wave. B. Firm handshake, eye contact, and smile. Or C. Smile and a hug. So the best answer to this question is B. Firm handshake, eye contact, and a smile. Without even verbally speaking, giving someone a handshake is considered an opportunity to make a positive interaction with someone. The handshake should be no more than 2 to 3 seconds long. Grip the person's hand firmly you are shaking hands with, but not so tight that you hurt their hand. Smiling and making eye contact shows you are friendly, confident, and have nothing to hide. Understandably, some people may not feel comfortable touching others. If you prefer not to be touched, the second best option would be to smile and wave. Or if you want to try to become more comfortable with touching others through a handshake, you can practice shaking hands with the loved one at home. The idea is to become more comfortable with the idea of shaking a stranger's hand. Question 4. How should you sit during the interview? A. Head up, back straight, hands on your lap. B. Arms folded. Or C. Hands in your pockets. So the best answer to this question is A. Head up, back straight, hands on your lap. When you sit down in the chair to begin the interview, you want to sit up tall with confidence, with your head up, hands on your lap, and your feet on the ground. Sitting with your arms folded communicates that you're closed off, and putting your hands in your pockets can give the impression that you're hiding something. So we really want to try to avoid doing that. Question 5. True or false? You should not have your cell phone out during the interview. A. True. B. False. The best answer to this question is A. True. You should not have your cell phone out during the interview. A good rule of thumb is once you enter the building to where your interview is, you should put your phone away, whether it be in your purse or in your pocket. Don't play on your phone waiting for the interview to begin in the waiting area, and definitely don't leave it out during the interview. Leaving your cell phone out may communicate to the interviewer that you're not serious about the position and are more interested in what's going on in your phone than the actual interview. So make sure to turn it off and put it on silent and put it away and out of sight. Question 6. What should you do if your cell phone accidentally rings during the interview? A. Excuse yourself and take the call. B. Ignore it and let it ring. Or C. Quickly turn it off without looking who is calling and apologize. So the best answer to this question is C. Quickly turn it off or on mute without looking to see who is calling and apologize. In the case where you accidentally forgot to turn off your cell phone or put it on silent, the best thing you could do is quickly grab your phone and without looking to see who texted you, turn the cell phone off. By not looking to see who's calling, this is communicating to the interviewer that the interview is the prime focus, not who's calling. Apologize to the interviewer and put the cell phone back away. Sometimes mistakes do happen, but how you recover from the mistake can make all the difference. So we are finished with the first section covering nonverbal communication skills and how it can affect the interview. In this next sequence, we will be going over verbal communication skills. I will present 5 potential questions you may see in an interview. They are not all inclusive, but they are very common interview questions. So I'll post the question and give you 10 seconds to think about how you would answer the question yourself. Again, please feel free to pause the video if you need more time thinking of an answer, as these are more difficult questions. These questions are really great practice, so really think about how you would answer them. Question 1. Tell me about yourself. Take a few moments to think about how you would answer this question if you were asked this in an interview. So this is usually one of the first questions an interviewer may ask. And it's an important one too because they really want to get to know who you are and what's important to you. Since this is such a vague question, you may be asking yourself, well, where do I start with answering this question? Or how much do I share? Here are a few tips on how to answer this question. Number 1. Begin with a brief overview of where you are now. This can include your current job or a personal hobby or passion. Number 2. Reference how you got to where you are. Here you can mention education or past experience. Number 3. Finish by touching on a goal for the future. Say, for example, you wanted to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, which is a nonprofit organization that helps families rebuild and improve homes. A sample answer to this question could be, currently I am looking to volunteer for an organization that gives back to the community. I've always had an interest in building because my father is a carpenter, so volunteering for a nonprofit organization that helps rebuild and gives back to the community is really interesting to me. My goals for the future are to give families an affordable place to live. Question 2. Why do you want to volunteer here? Take a few moments to think about how you would answer this question if you were asked this in an interview. So doing research on the volunteer program's mission and values can greatly help with answering this question. Applying how they relate to your own values is a great way to connect with the program's mission. You can typically find the volunteer program's mission and values on their website. Again, sticking with the first example of wanting to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, an example of how to answer this question could be, I would like to volunteer here because I am passionate about giving back to the community. I want to share what I have so others can have the same or more. I want to see firsthand how a community can be improved. Question 3. What are your greatest strengths? Again, take a few moments to think about how you would answer this question if you were asked this on an interview. Assessing what your strengths are before an interview is a great exercise that you can do so you can answer this question with confidence. When answering this question, you should tell the interviewer something positive about yourself that can contribute to the volunteer team. An example of how to answer this question could be, one of my greatest strengths is that I'm a hard worker. I don't give up easily on tasks and constantly want to improve myself. If you find yourself having difficulty coming up with strengths for yourself, try not to compare yourself to someone else and what you think the answer is supposed to be. We all have our own unique strengths, and those strengths can be found in things that we do every single day. Question 4. What are your greatest weaknesses? Take a few moments to think about how you would answer this question in an interview. So when answering this question, you actually want to say something that could be seen as a strength. So essentially, you want to turn a negative into a positive. A sample answer to how you can answer this question could be, sometimes I focus too much on details. Being a detail-oriented person can be considered a good thing, but spending so much time on specifics can be considered a weakness. By sharing with the organization you are very detailed-oriented, you are showing the interviewer that you can help prevent even minor mistakes from happening. Question 5. How much time would you like to volunteer here? Again, take a few moments to think about how you would answer this question. So, this is something that you should think about before heading into the interview. Having an idea of how much you can volunteer, including which days of the week and at what time, can give the interviewer an idea of your availability. Knowing this information offhand shows the interviewer you are prepared and serious about volunteering. So that is the end of our activity. You all did a really awesome job working through those tough interview questions. I know it can be nerve-wracking heading into an interview, but by preparing yourself for common interview questions, you can enter the interview with a lot more confidence. The more you prepare, the more you will set yourself up for success. So now that we've finished the activity, I have 2 questions to ask to apply the information we just learned about to other aspects of life. We went over verbal and nonverbal communication skills for a volunteer interview. However, these skills are not limited to being interviewed for a volunteer opportunity. So the first question is, what else might you be interviewed for that you can apply these same skills? The second question is, how can you apply some of the verbal and nonverbal communication skills in your everyday life? So to answer the first question, these skills can be applied in other interview opportunities, such as for a job or for a program at school. Many of the interview questions you saw in today's activity will be similar in nature to other interviews. However, a few words here or there will be changed based on what you're interviewing for. For example, the question, "Why do you want to volunteer here?" can easily be changed to, "Why do you want to work here?" The only word that changed in that sentence was volunteer, to work. So the same techniques in answering this question apply. To answer the second question, you can apply verbal and nonverbal communication skills in your everyday life when you're talking to friends, family, peers, and coworkers. The way we present ourselves through our nonverbal communication can greatly affect the way we understand someone in any setting. So it's important to remember that these skills are not just for the interview setting. Verbal communication also plays a role in our everyday lives because what we choose to say or not to say can affect the relationship we have with those around us. We always want to respect those around us, and the way we choose to talk to people can enrich our lives simply by the way that we communicate. So we have reached the end of our session today. You all did such a wonderful job following along and putting your knowledge to the test. Remember the power of these communication skills when you go on your next interview, as they can greatly impact the interviewer's decision to have you as a team member. Now that you have the tips and tricks on how to complete an interview, next week Ashley, one of our co-leaders, will be presenting on how to deal with potential conflicts that could be seen in a volunteer setting. She will go into detail the best way to handle conflict so you could be successful at your volunteer site. Good luck and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!